Hey everybody, I am Ghosty and today we are going to take a look at a locals tournament that just occurred. It was this Sunday at Dragon's Lair in Stockholm. It's a quite small tournament, but we just got the lightning promo, so everyone was quite fired up. It was quite a nice tournament and 4 rounds and then finals. This is not a pro tour and we always have a couple of new players, so it is very varying skill levels here. Some are playing in the tournament for the first time and some are not. So it's going to be quite exciting and there will be mistakes made, it happens, and we are going to focus on just enjoying the games. That's what we do here. I'm on the right side, currently playing Lightning and Ice. I forgot my Earth deck at home. I usually play Earth and Water. Daniel on the left side is playing Water and Fire, and he got quite a nice start with a Tella and a Jagros here. Jagros probably there to protect the Tella. It's not going to protect it from Hecaton Share, but most other backup removals does sort of save Tella from destruction. I got a really unfortunate start, had to play Emperor from a 1 backup start. Definitely not something you want to do. You usually want 2 backups, so you only have to discard a single card for the Emperor. You see a Gipple there in my discard, and it is there because I run Devout. Quite an interesting play. My opponent played something extraordinary there. It was Dash. I think it's called Dash. I might be butchering the name. But Dash is quite rare, which indicated that he is running Sash. I think it's called Sash. Or Sass. I don't know. Either way, quite rare to see, so I definitely guess we're going to be something like a burn deck. That was my assumption after seeing both Tella and Dash. Very strange indeed. I was quite surprised and did not really know how to play into it, or rather how to avoid playing into it. I was quite scared of, and especially looking at the economy, he is up at 4 backups now, and knowing he might have cards like Cloud of Darkness, etc., I can't really just commit and fill the board here. I just go for some tempo damage here. I managed to play a Geel to the field and swung with the Emperor for another damage, but struck straight into an EX burst, and he finished off the damaged card with Brynhildr. Not really damaged, it was power reduced, but it's sort of the same thing in this scenario. My opponent played a 1-cost Porum to the field and a Sash. And backed up with the Dash in the background, the Sash can't really be chosen by effect, so that is frustrating. But Cyclops definitely deals with those, so always be careful when playing against Lightning, because Cyclops is usually going to be there. It is the sort of golem bot for the Lightning player, but it's much more of an offensive tool, as it can immediately remove any small card from the table. Cards like Zidane and things really have to watch out for the Cyclops. And here I managed to remove both the Porum and the Sash from the table. Not having to choose Sash really made a big difference there. Quite a nice start, and my opponent played a Huge there. Huge being quite a nice card, Huge being another tongue tire here he brought into his deck list. And I think it's quite relevant here because he is looking for both the Palom and the Porum, for example. So cycling through a lot of cards makes a lot of sense here. I, on the other hand, was kind of stuck here. I had very little economy available, but finally drew some on this turn. I think I drew the double Black Mage this turn around, so that was very nice indeed. I played a Black Mage to sort of play like an economy start here, and another Black Mage to finish it off. So I really got the economy back there, and that's a scary part of Lightning. Usually able to play things like Magus, Seymour, Black Mage and similar, and just profit on you playing forwards. So that is really scary from the Lightning side. My opponent played a Larsa here. I was quite frustrated because I had a lot of these burn effects on hand, and usually small burn effects as well. I think I had a Terror on hand here, not being able to use her ping effects, but her on play, as you'll see later, came in quite neat. Really unfortunate I did not have any really good cards here, so I was forced to play some kind of awkward cards. My opponent on the other hand didn't really have much of a field anyway, and quite a few standing backups, not being able to use them either, it looked like. So I was fearing some summons flying over here. I reinforced my economy and played a Dukelarg here, as I'm playing mostly ice, and that Dukelarg is going to play a big big role here. The Duke going forward makes every single ice card I play that much bigger, so that is really neat. Definitely a nice card to have. So now I'm finally back with economy in my favor even. I'm up at 5 backups, and that's just where you want to be as Lightning. Unfortunately, every single backup I draw now will be a dead card, so that is a little bit unfortunate, but I was forced to play it out like this, and Duke was definitely needed. As I only run 2 in the deck, I can't really lose it too early. I end up playing a Terra here to get rid of the Larsa, as all of my burns are removed from it. So that is really unfortunate. I want to target the Pollen, but I'm not allowed to, as it requires to be a dulled target. So I remove the Larsa only with the Terra. It is unfortunate, but it is still a good play. I need to remove it, and I still produce a forward. So I effectively paid 6 to get a forward that checks the Pollen, as well as damaging and removing the Larsa. Quite nice, and on future turns I'll have the ping effect available. I seem to remember myself having the legendary Squall on my hand, but I don't think I played it. I think I saved it, not wanting to commit too many cards from my hand. My opponent uses the Tella here, and the Tella is gone at least. I can't do much about that. Very unfortunate losing the Terra, but all the same, he lost another backup, so I'm currently up 2 backups to his 3. So I have 5 and he has 3 backups. I played a Laguna here, wanting to make sure that there are no free damages dealt here. I don't want to see that at all, no. We see a new Tella appearing here, and it seems like he can't get a burn. To help the Pollen finish off the Laguna here. So I saved myself from damage there. Decent play, I suppose, but I sort of risked playing into a burn there. Quite scary. But all the same, let's see what I do here. What I want to see at the moment definitely isn't backups nor summons. I want to see Rinoa and I want to see Squall at the moment. That's definitely the cards I would like to see at the moment. Found a Squall there. The Squall is so nice, forcing the opponent to discard cards. I discarded Namon for the Squall. No, a Devout? Yeah, I discarded Devout, definitely wanting to keep forwards on my hand since I have 5 backups already. And my backups can't really destroy themselves either. So Laguna swinging for damage, not able to freeze anyone this time since he can only freeze dull forwards. Very unfortunate, really frustrating. Since I don't have any ways to dull at the moment, I need that Amon down to the field, but I can't at the moment. We see a Tella damage the Squall, and we see the Pollen finishing it off. He didn't trigger the effect until he dealt damage, so he dealt damage, triggered the effect, and brought the Pollen to the field. Seems... Yeah, I think he forgot that it also, you sort of get, if you sort of special bounce it in, I've never played against a Pollen Porum, but if you special bounce a Pollen down to the field like this, you actually get a free 7k burn. So that is something to keep in mind, and I think he missed it here. I think he would have killed the Laguna, since I think the Laguna is at 6k at the moment, 6 or 7 anyway. So I think the burn should have been enough there to actually kill the Laguna. It didn't make that big of a difference if I remember right, but still, that would have been a small advantage in his favor. Unfortunately, he forgot it, and I don't think I thought about it. I usually remind people of their mistakes, and we're sort of really nice to each other here and try to help each other play better. Because some people are new here, and some people just, you know, forget things or make mistakes. It happens to everyone, so I also made some mistake here during this game, so it happens. I put an Emperor to the field, making sure I can't take the Pollen Porum special here. That is quite nice. It stops the Scholar from working, and it stops his third Tella from working. No, it's actually in damage, a third Tella. That is unfortunate. But any action ability or special ability is stopped by the Emperor. So Emperor is one of the best cards available. And I run it mostly because of the Earth matchup, which I think is extremely difficult. And the Earth, the Emperor really helps in the Earth matchups in particular. I think Emperor is one of the most important cards to have in your deck at the moment. It is one of the best cards imaginable. Let's see what I play here is probably going to be Amon. Since I know I have an Amon on the hand, I'm most likely just going to dull one of the Polum and the Param. No, I didn't play Amon. Oh yeah, I seem to remember having an Odin here, wanting to keep an Odin prepared maybe? It's gonna be Rinoa, yeah, Rinoa is a good card. Definitely something you want to see here, since if he swings now and breaks the Rinoa, I get 2 free damage, and that is quite difficult to deal with. So he's most likely not going to be able to attack at all. Really, really difficult to deal with the Rinoa. Rinoa gets 1k from Dukelarg here and 1k from the Laguna. So currently the Rinoa is a 9k forward with a nice special being able to dull and freeze a forward and the backup character, which is really, really, really nice. Going forward, I was a little bit worried because my deck doesn't really play out really well in the end game. Only Rinoa does, and my opponent might be running maybe the hero Yuna or Leviathan, for example, to just bounce her out of the way. So I was quite worried about going into the end game. Fortunately, I had one of the format-defining plus 1k backups, and that definitely gives some extra mileage out of the ice cards I'm running, and I'm running mostly ice, so both Laguna and Rinoa getting that vital plus 1k. I tapped 2 and discarded a card to play the Amon to the field, and Amon, I checked here for the Palom and Porom, since I'm able to dull 1 card, and I want to force his other cards to defend here. So I seem to remember myself looking for a... yeah, I found that there was a Porom already in the discard, so if he wanted to defend, I wanted him to lose the Porom, since he might only have 1 left then. So I swung with Rinoa, I call her the battering ram. You generally can't really defend against her very well. You can block her, but if you break her, that's going to be a problem. So my opponent triggered a Kushaline here, reducing power by 3k. Reducing power by 3k, and he targeted Laguna, I think, and got to draw a card. It was really nice for him. And I want to disable his economy here, so I think I swung with Laguna. Yeah, I use a Jill special on the Porom, freezing it, and I use the Laguna to freeze the Polum. So both Polum and Porom being frozen, and the Laguna unfortunately going to break. The power reduction, otherwise it would have been fine, but with the power reduction he breaks. But Polum and Porom are going to be frozen for my opponent's next turn, and I'm going to have a free shot at the next turn as well. And Amon will be able to dull the Lars on my next turn. So I'm very, very, very secure right now. I'm not going to be hit much, and I should have an easy time. Larsa is going to block the final attack, as my opponent prefers not being at 6 damage. Emperor is going to the break zone though because of the Brynhilder, already having taken some damage. We see a fairy on the Polum. I choose to not act on it, and he's going to activate it. I didn't notice he reactivated the Porom here, quite unfortunate because it was frozen, but all the same, it doesn't matter. You win some, you lose some, and you make some mistakes. It was frozen because of the Jill special there that I used on the last turn. It's not a big deal though, it happens. I just didn't notice it and my opponent forgot it. It was in the heat of battle and everyone makes mistakes. It doesn't matter. I definitely didn't think it was a problem because I was extremely secure about this matchup right now. Knowing that most of the ways to come back from this are going to be relatively easy to deal with. We see a special here that couldn't have been used either, so I lost Amon here, quite unfortunate. But it happens like I said, and it was just that the Jill should have frozen that target. Oh, it doesn't matter. I knew I had really good answers on my hand and that he wouldn't be able to use the Polem and Parum much more. So we dealt with it here. We see a Terra here, targeting both Polem and Parum, and using the special to double its damage to 8k, so both are dead. We see him losing the Scholar to pick one up to hand, and the other goes to the break zone. So with only Sass left to keep the board intact, I felt very secure about this matchup indeed. I swung with Rinoa, I don't doubt, to deal a damage, and on the next turn my Rinoa can't really be blocked, because if she'd break I just straight up win that fight. I can't target Sash though with any ability or anything, so I can't get him out of the way, so I'm just gonna have to let it go, I think. Or maybe I use a summon on him, because I don't really want him to attack, because if he attacks now he's going to deal 6k damage for free here, and that is really frustrating. So my opponent plays a huge here again. He keeps stacking in the bottom of his deck there, so he probably knows what the cards are there. I remember joking about it, since I think there was like 10 cards left, and he has a stack of 7 cards which he knows already, so he probably should be knowing what he's drawing right now. And my opponent played a Magus to the field here, damaging my cards, and I stopped the Sass here, since the Sass would have actually killed my Terra. And that would have been really difficult to deal with for me. And the Cyclops stopped Sass from doing that, and that really just ended the game. There was really no way of coming back from that. I could have swung with Rinoa, and there was no way to stop her. With 2 cards left to deal a single point of damage, that was definitely over. But that was a kind of nice match. Small mistakes, but that doesn't really matter. Overall, I felt that the Lightning deck I played here, the Lightning Nice deck, had a really good matchup, because it's really great against any kind of combo decks, as I really can easily pick apart just about any combination here, easily removing Polem or Parum as I please. And going into the second game, we are looking at Silas on the right side and Sebastian on the left side. I think Sebastian lost his first game and Silas won his first game. Silas is quite experienced, and Sebastian is one of our newer players. He's played a few games, and definitely he entered last week as well, if I remember right, but he is quite new. His opponent Silas though has been playing a whole lot. Silas is running Water and Wind, Final Fantasy X combo kind of deck, and his opponent is running Earth and Fire. He started out really heavily, committing to playing a 4-cost, just like I had to do, from one single backup, and that is very expensive. Silas punished him by playing a backup, in this case Yuna, and bounced the Cloud back to hand. Sebastian couldn't afford playing Cloud again, so he had to play Cecil instead. A lot cheaper though, so that is probably a wise play indeed. You really want to have Cecil out early, as you want every single damage you take to be a burn on your opponent. Unfortunately, Riku is probably not going to be able to be burned, as I bet there's a pain coming here in a second. Yeah, there's the pain. That pain is just fantastic. That is the best pain ever, and it is able to pick up either Yuna's or Riku's out from the deck. Kind of deck filtering, removing either useless cards or preparing for the next card. And he immediately discards that Yuna to play a Scholar. Very efficient plays going on here. So Silas is at 3 backups at the moment, and his opponent is at single backup. Very unfortunate for him, and we see he drew a Tama, so that was a duplicate backup on the left side. So he just couldn't play it. Very unfortunate, and he's just not able to get more backup resources going right now. He goes for swinging with Cloud, I think. They are discussing a little bit of the rules here, because I think he wanted to use Omnislash on Riku, but Silas told him that you're not able to choose the Riku. So we see a Jessie played instead here, to find a Vincent to hand, just to reduce the cost of the Jessie basically down to 1, effectively anyway. Quite unfortunate, but he's gonna have a lot of an easier time on 2 backups instead of just the 1. Silas though, on the other hand, is at 4 backups now, and that's a huge benefit for him. He just played his 5th here and is quite comfortable with the Riku just not being able to be killed by Cloud. So there is a very good board state here for Silas, as the Riku is at 10 now. Very strong indeed. We see a Meteor Rain here, I think. Yeah, just removing the Riku. Decent play, and removing a forward is always beneficial, so that is fine. And they are discussing the rules here just so that Sebastian knows how to do it, and I think he wanted to use that Meteor Rain indeed. So sort of getting to Silas here. Silas is probably able to replay Pain though, so it might not be the most efficient play, but you can't just sit there either, so it might not have been too bad. He also played a Vincent though. Vincent is not able to choose Riku either, so Sebastian is quite unfortunate since I don't think he's any way to deal with Riku at all. He's going to have to lure it into a fight and, for example, distribute power with golems or similar, and that could work. So that is definitely a possibility. And we see a Leviathan here on Vincent, since Silas don't really want that to happen. Keep in mind though that Silas was not able to replay a Pain this turn, so he could not protect Riku from the Omnislash. So maybe if he's unlucky, he's going to be punished for that. On the other hand, he has Scholar, so he could potentially pick the Riku back up if needed though. If I was Silas, I'd probably use the Archer to attack the opponent's economy, since he's so far ahead and he most likely has another backup coming here. Oh, we see a Cecil play. Cecil is quite expensive and quite scary to play. Fortunately for Silas, he does have an Aerith here. Aerith being a fantastic card, and it is able to protect Cecil from Omnislash, for example. Seems like he goes for the damage here, since you can't win without dealing your opponent damage. And Cloud going to Break Zone. He's very fortunate. Very fortunate indeed. Cloud going to discard damage, and this time is perfect for Silas, since that Cloud would have meant an Omnislash and the damage for Sebastian. Going through the rules for Cecil here, since Sebastian might not have played a whole lot against it before. Cecil is quite a rare card, it's not in every deck at all. Water is considered one of the weaker colors, bar various versions of card filtering. Card filtering have been really powerful in the Japanese format at the very least, but most Western players don't really play a whole lot of these cards, considering bounds to be so much worse than breaking. But the Yuna hero I think is the savior here, and Minwu is also sort of anti-meta. So Yuna hero and Minwu I think is what keeps water relevant. The rest of the cards are sort of mediocre in my opinion. We see a couple plays here. We see swinging, and I think he wanted to use an Omnislash here. Yeah, and the red maging Cecil to make sure he can deal 2 damage. Fair enough. I probably would have used the Omnislash on Cecil, but it doesn't matter. Since Aerith was standing, that was kind of risky as well, since we might have seen a block or similar. But we saw a red mage used on Cecil to make sure that couldn't happen. It was a decent play overall, and he just gained some tempo right there. Silas, on the other hand, if he'd get a Pain up now, he'd be in a really good position here, since you can't really Omnislash here. He swings with the Cecil to make sure he's not punished for having a Cecil. Cecil is super useful if dulled, one of the best cards in the game, and it's really hard to get to a dulled Cecil. Otherwise you can just swing and then use a combat trick like Golem or similar, and Cecil is down. Or just play a Gippal and swing, for example. Very dangerous indeed. Gippal being one of the best cards in the game in my opinion, because you can just play Gippal and then all of your cards are safe from any burns or combat or anything. They can just swing freely for a turn. It can also be used as a combat trick if needed. Silas is counting the clouds here because it seems like he have an infinite number of clouds. I think he is swinging and potentially using an Omnislash. Yeah, he has another Omnislash. Wow, that's fantastic. And getting rid of the Riku before a Pain can appear as well. Probably a good play actually, because if a Pain appears, he just can't get rid of the Riku. So maybe that is the wise decision after all. I must correct myself. And we see a pain appearing here, so it was very fortunate indeed that he removed the Riku before it became a threat. Punishing Silas for playing like combo-based plays here. Very nice plays indeed, and the best way to pick apart a combo is just like removing a couple of the pieces and making sure it doesn't get time to set up, because once it sets up, it's gonna be really difficult. They're going through here the variant, like the rules for Cecil again, because the Ifrit triggering cannot really deal any damage here, because it is a summon, and Cecil just states that summons and abilities can't deal damage to the cards there on the right side, the forward specifically. We see a Lan played here, probably going to be really relevant. Pain at the moment being quite frustrating, but you could just red mage that if needed. So Lan is going to be really handy indeed for Sebastian. Meanwhile, Silas probably looking for Riku, but I think we've been through 3 Rikus already, haven't we? I don't know, most likely. And we see a Tifa in damage, though I've already seen like 4 Tifas in either damage or discard now, so it's probably not the best card you're looking for at the moment anyway. Another damage dealt to Sebastian here, not daring to block because of power or tricks or anything, and he lost. Silas used his archer here to remove one of Sebastian's cards, and Silas really don't want to face the red mage. The red mage is really an incredible card in the end game, and while I'd currently be more afraid of the Tama, it is a wise decision to remove the red mage, because if Sebastian would want to use his Tama, he'd be stuck at a single backup, and that is a big issue. We see a free damage here for Sebastian because of the Lan being incredibly useful sometimes, but the Cecil and the Cloud are probably going to have to be left standing because of him being at 5 damage. When you're at 5 damage, you're not likely to want to swing a whole lot here. I mean, he could swing with Cloud and lose his Cloud to the Waka most likely, but it just might not be so handy. I think Silas really wished he had a Astrologian at this point, the Astrologian being a fantastic backup. Really helping out here, and just for any single water card can mean you are free to reactivate the character. We see Cecil swinging for damage here, and if Sebastian has a Golem, now is the time. The Golem would be absolutely fantastic. No, he ends up taking damage to 6 damage. Now he really is forced to block here, and he plays a Vincent to the field. Vincent might not really be the answer, but sometimes you're forced to, so you can't really say much about that. Silas is down to 2 single cards now, but he has a really high pressure on his opponent right here. But his opponent, if Silas doesn't produce another forward or 2 here, he is going to be in a very dangerous situation, because Aerith is going to be have to use her Planet Protector to reactivate, and if Sebastian then have some great counterplays then, like Omni Slashes or summons like maybe a Bahamut for example, that means big trouble and game over in my opinion. So if, for example, Sebastian would have a Bahamut on hand and would be able to play it, he can't afford it right now, he would have been able to respond to Aerith with just straight up Bahamut for a game. Most likely though, there is a Cloud in Sebastian's hand, and he would be able to swing, and when the Planet Protector comes, we can see an Omni Slash on Cecil. Unfortunately, he swings and uses his Omni Slash immediately, and Silas just responds with the Planet Protector, and everything is null and void. And a status reels as well on Lan, removing the ability and blocking Lan, and that is game over. So reactivate Planet Protector and the status reels for game for Silas there, really being prepared there, having several options in his hand. It definitely feels like Final Fantasy X combo still works. It was really strong and popular in the last Opus I meta, and it's really still going strong. But on to the third round. In the third round we have Theo on the left side playing Mono Earth, and on the right side we have Sebastian playing Fire and Earth. At the moment, I feel that the Earth matchup is a little bit stronger against the Fire matchup, but we'll see. Quite difficult to say. Sebastian goes for a red mage first turn and then Tifa for 8 damage. Theo plays Tam on the first turn and second turn Fusoya, very nice play. And the Young. Keep in mind that there is no Monk for Young at the moment, but Young is one of the best characters in the entire game at the moment. With a Monk, Young is a 7k Brave 2 cost, and that is absolutely out the window broken, in my opinion. That is fantastic for a 2 cost, it has such an impact, and especially with Mono Earth with the Anna Crosshair. Interesting, we see a Bahamut Fury here on Young, and it's only at resolution you chose when to discard a card for 5/7k choice. So that's at resolution. So Theo is considering using Golem here, but he knows that his opponent can just throw a card and deal 7k damage instead if he does. So he ends up having to drop that. And the second Fusoya in damage for Theo, that is very lucky as he currently has no way of removing the Fusoya efficiently. Very fortunate for him, a perfect way to start his game. Else he would be stuck with that Fusoya in hand for a couple of turns, maybe having to use the Lita on Fusoya there. It seems like he chose to play a Monk to the field, making sure his next Young is up to scratch, but the Tifa is going to be a little bit of a problem here. The Tifa is going to swing for a 3rd damage, it seems. Either that or Theo is going to have to deal that 3rd damage to himself. Yep, that's what he does. A Titan going to the damage zone this time, but the Tifa threat is at the very least gone. But that was a very good Tifa for Sebastian. It's a very good Tifa indeed. Unfortunately though, Sebastian is way behind in economy here, and that is going to be a problem. Theo effectively drawing an extra card per turn over Sebastian right now, and that is very frustrating. Theo wants to match field here, so he goes for the Parish play. Parish being an absolute monster of a defender. That is the best blocker in the entire game, but it costs 5. And Theo played it with just a single backup tapped, and so he has 2 backups standing. But we'll see. Prish is quite easily countered, and we see, for example, a red mage, so that Sebastian could just keep swinging for damage, but he is going to have to deal with that Prish eventually. So you can't just keep looking at that Prish, you're at some point going to have to kill it. And I mean, you're not going to do it in combat, because that's 12,000 right there. Vincent is a bit of a better way to do it, and especially as Vincent have as Earth has quite few ways of removing the Vincent. Since we see a Fusoya though, I'm assuming we might see either Roban played, we might see a Cecil and then Fusoya play on the coming turn to remove Vincent entirely. And here comes the red mage as we expected, to just ignore Prisha and swing for another damage and then deal with Prisha on the next turn. Really hope he's able to deal with Prisha on the next turn though, because Theo is most likely going to be able to produce a defender or 2 on this turn. It seems like he had a Prisha on hand as well, being able to double Prisha, so if there would be like a huge combat trick, we might see damage. Or we see Prisha activating Brave and swinging for damage. That is going to happen every turn now, and if we see a block, Prisha becomes 16. So that is a huge Prish coming flying at you. Very scary indeed. We see a red mage again, and Sebastian keeps swinging for damage, and another damage, so Theo is now at 6 damage. Theo definitely must produce at least 2 blocking characters on this turn, and even if it produces 2 blocking characters, depending on which ones they are, we might still see a damage coming through from Sebastian here, if he is lucky. We see Prish swinging for damage, very nice, and we're assuming we're going to see Gabranth. Yeah, we see a Gabranth here, paying 2 for Gabranth, very nice price. Or was it 1? Yeah, it was 1 for Gabranth, sorry, very cheap card. And then a Dark Knight for 2, so twice the cost of a Gabranth. But both are just as strong, I think both are 9 at the moment, so that's very powerful cards indeed. If we see a Water Kick and a Red Mage here, we might still possibly See a damage being dealt here. Yeah, that's a red mage, and is that a water kick? No, he skipped the water kick. No, he didn't. Maybe he can't afford both water kick and the red mage. That could be it. And he really needs to get through both characters, and that's a problem. Alright, yeah. Unfortunately he was not able to get through Theo's defenses there, and those Earth characters are absolutely huge right now, and they are brave because of Gabranth, so that is going to be a real problem. He's going to have to be able to deal with those eventually, and firstly getting rid of the Gabranth would be a great idea, but Roban comes down. Roban comes down like a hammer blow and is going to swing for the Vincent, I'm assuming, because Vincent could break both Prish and the Dark Knight. No, he goes for Tifa, recognizing Water Kick as a lethal threat as well. Maybe a wise decision, since we could see Tifa swinging for, like, removing a character from defense with the doll effect from the Water Kick, as well as doing that. Not sure if it's gonna be a big deal right now though. We see a Bahamut Fury dealing damage to Gabranth. Fair enough. Maybe that's really important. It could prove a point here. Maybe it's not going to dare to swing here just because of that damage. Probably it is just going to swing anyway. Prish swinging. And are we gonna see a defender? I'm assuming we're not gonna see a defender. No, good. And I'm assuming Gabranth is going to swing as well. Theo not really caring if Gabranth breaks, in my opinion. I would just swing with it, to be honest. It is brave, and if Sebastian would defend with Vincent, I'd be fine with it. But on the other hand, Scarmiglione is a threat, so a single Scarmiglione would actually break the Gabranth. And that would have been a problem. So maybe it was wise not attacking with the Gabranth. Sebastian, on the other hand, being in lethal range from Theo's relentless brave assault here. And that is definitely a problem, so we're going to see Sebastian attempting to produce more defenders to be able to deal with this onslaught, but I just can't see how he's going to do it. He needed something like Shuntoro and definitely more economy play here. He is committing heavily to playing forwards, and that just doesn't really work here. We definitely need more economy from Sebastian's side, or he's just not going to be able to cope with it. So when he looked back at these games, I'm assuming that is going to be his biggest thing to work with. Either including more backups in the deck to be able to start out the games with a better economy, either that or prioritizing playing the backups here. Sebastian is quite new, so we might assist a little bit with the deck theories there, but I think he's going to survive this turn at the very least. Yeah, he during combat preparation he wishes to water kick the Gabranth to be able to make sure he's not taking the damage from it. Quite nice, and he might still actually deal the damage here, the final damage, if he manages to do a water kick and a death penalty. No, we see another card here. Actually, a death penalty would and a red mage would still be lethal here. Removing Rydia and Dark Knight with one, or Prish and Dark Knight with one, and red mage the other. Quite nice indeed, very well played for Sebastian. He is most likely going to be able to close this game if he's lucky. If he's not lucky, it's just straight up loss here. So death penalty and red mage is the best option, though I don't think he can afford it. Water kick and red mage would still be able to do it, I think. No, there's Monk there. That is a problem. Nope, he definitely didn't have it. He punched the table slightly. They were laughing a bit about it, that the top deck was kind of bad, I think. And yeah, that's what happens in card games. So I think he's going to be forced to pass this turn. And if he can somehow afford a death penalty, he could maybe still survive for a turn, but I think it's just game over. I pray for Sebastian's sake that he has golems and titans and things prepared for this turn, because it's going to be painful. I'm just assuming it's going to be game over here. Let's see what he says. They're probably just discussing the cards here to make sure that the ending isn't completely spoiled here. But I think it's going to be game over for Sebastian. I can't see any ways of cracking this nut here. Probably just going to lose, unfortunately. Really unfortunate because he dealt really good damage in the beginning, though he lost only because of the economy, really. Being so far behind in economy, he's not been able to afford enough cards. He's been forced to throw away too many cards overall. He could have just kept another card here and there if he had better economy, and that would have been a huge difference. Being able to keep more options in his hand, and that really would have made this game end differently, I think. Though against Theo specifically, yeah, there's the GG. And against Theo specifically, you can't pull him up to 6 damage. You have to put him at 5 and then force a 6 and 7 during the same turn, preferably. Either that or quickly deal damage like he did here, and removing the use of a Fusoya, because Fusoya is absolutely vital for Theo's strategy here. Maybe Hecaton share aimed at Fusoya is a good idea as well. But that ends the third round, and here are the standings. I was undefeated so far, so I've been really lucky and my deck performing very well. So that was very nice to see. But a lot more excitement on the second place to the finals. So the final round, even if I lose this fourth match, I'm probably going to the finals. But the second spot to the finals was between 3 different players with a 2-1 record. So that was quite close there, definitely. The fourth round and the finals video will be linked in the description. It is the next video in the playlist as well. So hop onto that video and see how the fourth round and the final goes.